Good morning, students. Today we are going to see certain topics in theory of machines, basics of mechanisms. So we'll see very basic, okay? Kinematic link means each part of a machine which moves related to another part, we call it as a kinematic link, or we call it as simply a link, okay? So we have many types of links and all. The main type is rigid, means it will not undergo any deformation. So you cannot imagine any object which just doesn't undergoes any deformations and all. Okay, it actually they are not existing, but in practice only we just say it as it's called it as a deformations and all it exists. Okay, so flexible link means which is partly deformed. Okay, and it will not affect the transmission of motions, etc. Ropes and chains and all, it will partly affect. The third one is fluid link, okay, which is having a fluid in this and the motion is transmitted by the fluid pressures and all. So this is very important. So this is the basics of links and all. So there is a difference between the machine and the structure. So actually here, when you take it as a machine means there will move relative, there will be a relative movement and there will be transform some energy also. Okay, so machine will be transforming the energy into useful work, whereas the structure will be no conversion of, no transformation of motion or otherwise work and all. So the links will be transmitting both power and motion, etc. Okay, kinematic pair, the two links when in contact with each other, they will be forming a pair and all. Okay, if the relative motion is completely successfully constrained, we call it as a kinematic pair. So types of constrained motion is completely constrained motions. See, when you take it as a square hole and a square hole and a square ball, what will happen? It will go inside. It will go inside. Okay, so it will, irrespective of the directional force applied, the motion is said to be a completely constrained motions. Okay, so for example, the piston and cylinder and all, it will can't move herewise, etc. And that is relative motions. It will be in a definite directions. We call it as a completely constrained. Second one is incompletely constrained. So if it take place in more than one direction. See, when you take it as a round hole and a round ball means it will be moving with that, and it also can rotate. So that we call it as a incompletely constrained. Okay. So that's if it is in more than one directions, we call it as imperfectly constrained. And successfully constrained means if it is forming a pair such that constrained motion is not completed by itself or by some other means. See, for example, the motion is controlled by a third one or anything, we call it as successfully constrained, etc. Okay, weight or anything else, if it is making it is successfully constrained. So classifications of kinetic pairs, we have it as a sliding pair. If it is having only one sliding motions, we call it a sliding pair. Okay, and second one is a turning pair, such that one can turn about a fixed axis of one other link, we call it as a turning pair. Okay, so the third one is this is a bearing which revolves, and rolling pair means if one rolls over another, we call it as a rolling pair. Screw pair means one element can turn about the other by screw threads, we call it as a screw pair and all. Okay, so spherical pair means when two elements of pairs are connected, which one element turns, swivels about another fixed element, the pair is called as a spherical pair. Okay, so we can see a socket and ball mechanisms, etc. Okay, you can see, and also we have it as a lower pair and also the higher pair. The door latches and all, etc. and all, we call it as a lower pair, where the surface area of contact will be very high. Okay, you can see the door latches, it will be moving along the whole surface area. The piston also, it will be moving, the whole area of piston will be in this connecting rod, and this we call it as a lower pair. When you take it as a higher pair means cam and all, it will have only one point or one line of contact, then we call it as a higher pair and all. Okay, so what happens here is, so these types normally we go for the higher pair because we should have the relative motions between them is very low, so that only we can exist, we can go on for this contacts. If more surface area is needed means that we call it as a lower pair only. Okay, so normally we prefer higher pair because the motion will be transmitted by small surface area of contact itself. And closed pair means elements are held together mechanically. Okay, so we have some mechanical force. When you take it as a unclosed pair or a forced, unforced closed pair means what happens here is they will be held together by some other mechanism like spring and all. Okay, screw pairs and all. Like this we have turning and sliding motions. I have given these some examples. Thank you.